Welcome to the channel. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Join me on today's video where I'll be looking at a watch from Merkur. This of course was sent in to me for free. I don't have to give this back. And I have been reviewing quite a few watches from Merkur. The most notable ones that I did was the Ocean Master. And till this day, I absolutely love this watch. And I think this Ocean Master is probably the best pound for pound dive watch out there that you can get from China. I think this will keep up with so many micro brands and OEMs. This watch is just finished so well, such a solid and well thought out design. So, my feelings towards Merkur on the most part are positive. So what they have given me today is a dive watch. Now, Merkur have recently been producing X amount of pilot watches, field watches. That has now become the sort of forte or the calling card. Now, I do wish Merkur do go back to creating a really nice dive watch, as the two I've shown you were extremely well made. Now, the watch I have in front of me today is a Seizenn, which is a smaller brand of Merkur's. Now, Seizenn is the more value for money brand. You find a lot of cheaper models there. The last Seizenn that I did cover on this channel was the Timex Homage, which was an incredibly retro looking watch. It's the watch that Timex should have made, and I think I loved those retro aspects of that watch, and I'll put the link in the description for the review if you're interested in checking that out. Now, this is of course a homage to the SKX 007 from Seiko. So for reference, I do have one in hand. This is my own version. It's a genuine one, but with a slight hand modification. Now, that being said, on this channel, I've only ever looked at two SKX 007 homages, while on the mass market, there's absolutely loads. Now, when it comes to the modding market as well, you've got just so many types of cases from different suppliers, and this is probably one of the most modified watches from Seiko out there. If anything, a lot of modding can be attributed to the Seiko SKX 007, because like I said, there's just unlimited amount of parts out there for these watches. Now, this is Seizenn's interpretation made by Merkur. Now, this has been out a good while, and I've just not got around to getting this in and checking it, but we have it here in hand. I have spent a bit of time with this, so I can give you a full overview of this watch. In front of you, as you can see, the color combination that I have is the silver bezel with the black. They also do a green fume dial version, and they also do a bracelet option, but they have opted to send this to me on this FKM super supple rather evil looking strap, which I have on these Ocean Masters, and I think it suits these watches just fine. Not too sure how I feel about this strap on the watch. I think it looks okay for the most part, but we will be testing a SKX 007 bracelet to see compatibility. So let's cover price, dimensions, specifications, and let's get on with the review. Just a quick word on the packaging. So this is the case that it comes in. It's this faux carbon fiber effect, Merkur logo, and it does have a load of books and cards from Merkur. Now, the reason I'm actually spending a bit of time on this is because I've noticed something different. I didn't know they did this. They include a warranty certificate from the Merkur watch group. So now, how valid is it? In all honesty, this is where one thing negative I will say about Merkur. I have had a few subscribers reach out to me talking to about Merkur's customer service, and I've read multiple people's comments and emails saying that the customer service is more or less non-existent. They find it very difficult to get in touch with Merkur, and I don't know why that is. Of course, they communicate with me because they're sending me a watch and I'm doing a review on there. But in terms of how they deal with other customers, I really don't know what the game is. I don't know why they're not responding to anybody. But this is where we'll talk a bit about price. So this watch is available on Aliexpress, right, from the various agents that sell Seizenn and Merkur watches, and also from the Merkur website. So if that is the case where you are finding really poor customer service from Merkur, then I suggest you go to the Aliexpress store, as those are agents and they will be held accountable by the Aliexpress refund system. So I think that's probably a wiser choice to make. Now, price difference between the Merkur store and Aliexpress, from what I've seen, there's hardly any price difference. Store I checked it on, the price of this watch is around $151, which is about £115. And from their website, it's £112 and $149. So a $2 difference, but I think for the added peace of mind, it's probably best to go through Aliexpress. Okay, so now let's look at the dimensions. Now, this watch is extremely close to the SKX 007. I have done a measurement comparison. This watch comes in at approximately 42 millimeters, give or take 0.2 to 0.3 of a millimeter. I do tend to round down or up. A lug to lug of 45 millimeters, and a thickness of 13.3 millimeters. So dimensionally, it is quite close to the SKX 007. The weight of this watch on this rubber strap is around 127 grams. Specifications are as follows. You do have a sapphire crystal, you do have a stainless steel case, bezel, crown and case back. You do have a 120 click unidirectional bezel with a ceramic bezel insert. The watch runs the Seiko Epson NH36 movement, which is exactly the same as the NH35 with an added date complication. The movement does hack and wind. It is very reliable, very robust, a true workhorse movement. You do also have a stated water resistance of 200 meters because you've got a screw down crown and a screw down case back. I mentioned this watch also comes in a green Fume dial with a stainless steel strap as well, and to be honest, that is the watch I would have preferred to review. I feel there's a lot more to that watch. The one that decided to give me, and I had no choice in which model, they just said we're going to send you a watch. They gave me this black dial version with this rubber strap. No issue, we can still review it and give you my full thoughts on this. So let's start off with looking at the dial. And the dial here, you do have a matte black dial. You do have printed text in white Seizenn below the 12 and the water rating just above the 6. You've got printed chapter ring around the dial, not in the rehaut area. The rehaut area is just plain plastic. And you've also got applied hour markers. Now, typical Seiko-esque hour markers, you do have that arrow at the 12 o'clock, and then you've got a mixture of these cylindrical batons and circular hour markers. Now, they are finished with a polished frame out there. They do look really nicely done. The handset used is a sterile Mercedes style hand, and the thing that I do like about this handset, I will say, is that seconds hand does have that nice finisher top cap present, which I really do like. I like that on the St. Martin watches. Now, the finishing on the hands is polished. Now, there isn't much of a chamfer on the hands, and they seem pretty flat. That's one of the things I don't like. I think this dial is too plain, and further to that, I think the hands are too plain, and it's not a good representation of what Merkur are capable of. Now, because I said it's Seizenn, it is probably the more value for money brand. As you can see, the watches are quite a bit cheaper, so maybe that's just an obvious cost saving that you can see present here. Now, date window at 3 o'clock, you do have a color matched date wheel and date disc, which is positive. It always looks nice that it all matches. And the bezel here that you can see is, you know what this style is. I won't mention the name. Now, this does have mirror finished markers present, and you've got this ceramic bezel, but you've got this sort of bead blasted finish. Now, this bezel, it might look alright. My personal taste is I don't like these bezels at all. I just don't think they look nice enough, but that's purely subjective, so I'll keep that out. But looking at these markers, you can just see that they are quite sharp, right? They've been cut very sharp. They do stick out quite a bit, 3D markers. And what that means is you can see some blue fluff there, that they're extremely sharp. These are not smooth markers at all. Now, I'm already scuffing my skin here, and touching this, I thought, why have they done that? That seems absolutely ridiculous to me. They need to be obviously sanded down, or however people do them, and not engraved to such a point where you've got such sharp cuts. Just have a look at that triangle there. The markers here, while it has been embossed on there, they've just totally missed the finishing. Even for a more value for money or a budget brand, that's not right at all. Just giving the watch a clean would mean that you just got this cloth just literally tearing off. So that is, I think, one of my main gripes with the watch so far. Now let's check the bezel rotation out. It is a 120 click unidirectional bezel. And I really do love that rotation. As you can hear, it sounds very mechanical, very smooth as well. It's got the right amount of pressure. Sounds very nice, solid, no playback. And it lines up So the bezel rotation on it is fantastic. I think the mechanism is really nice, and it's something that you will enjoy, and that does stand out on the watch. Now the actual design of the bezel, very similar to the Ocean Master, where you've got these large grooves, polished of course, gives you really good grip and overall a fairly decent aesthetic. So let's go ahead, let's check out that lume. The lume on the watch is C3 Super Luminova, and you can see the hour markers are very well lit. Great lume on the hour markers. The hands do seem slightly duller than the hour markers. Now that is probably because of the style of hands. As I mentioned, they are very flat and therefore there's not a lot of lume being applied on there. But the hour markers do really stand out. Really good lume, ample light, and this is again without any concentrated form of UV on there. It's just the hands do slightly let this down. But overall, for a dive watch, it is more than adequate. Very visible, and at the same price point we have seen much worse from brands like Pagani Design. Chamfo on the crystal, you can see this reflection of the lume, which I think is a nice visual. Now let's turn our attention to the case, and this is where we see a bit of that Merkur engineering. When we look at the case profile and look at the case design, yes, it is like an SKX 007, but they've made some major improvements. Now down the lug tips you've got linear brushing, which is done perfectly. Very smooth, really nice brushing, and around the crown guards you've got some highly polished surfaces. Great texture, really well machined. I love the slope on there. So there's some really nice good features on the case, and in hand it feels really well built. Now one of the standout features of the case is what you'll see, this beveled edge around the side, which is again a standout feature, and it adds just a bit more character to the watch case. But it is of course highly polished, and it does blend in going across to the sides perfectly well, but that highlight along the side really does add to the quality of the case. If you look at the standard SKX case for comparison, yes, a very dated model. These watches have been out for well over 20 years I believe, and you can see the profile difference on the Merkur. Just a bit more refined. You do have a bit more of a curve when it comes down to the lug tips, whereas this is slightly stockier, and there's not much there in terms of different finishes. Of course you've got some brushing there, but I think the Merkur just does it quite a lot better, and that's something that you can see on the previous model. That's why I think this is where you see just some manufacturing from Merkur present. Really nicely polished surface and great brushing, very clean cuts. Okay, so in hand, like I said, the best thing about the watch, the case feels awesome. Let's turn it around. You've got the Merkur turtle logo polished and engraved. You've got some brushing present, very finely done circular brushing, and then you've got some specifications recorded on the back. The Seizenn Pro Diver. You've also got this little logo here. Don't really know what that is. It's a Seizenn logo, just engraved ever so small. I don't know if there's any need for that. Maybe just somebody put a mark on there, but yeah, it's barely visible. Now moving on to the crown, that is where you see the Seizenn logo. Very nicely made crown. The rotation on the crown and the crown threads are very smooth. Now I have seen a bit of a problem on these SKX Homages when it comes to the crown guards. Now the watch that I have looked at is the Heimdallr. It's probably the most famous Homage aside from the Islander. The crown guards did extend on the version 1. They did attempt to resolve that on the version 2, but however I felt it still wasn't right. Now how does the Merkurs fare? Now the Merkur still has a slight issue. I think it's better than the Heimdallr. The case definitely is way better than that, and the bezel rotation is way better than the Heimdallr. But just on these sort of guards, it does stick out just a little bit more. It's not as well finished on the original SKX. So let me bring that in for comparison. You can see it's just slightly better made. It's rounded off quite a bit more. So when you do touch the crown from underneath and you do screw it out, it is almost flush. This one does stick out slightly. I tried to measure it. I'd say it sticks out by about 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters. So that is something that you do feel, and overall it makes the experience of unscrewing the crown just slightly awkward. It is possible. You don't have to do anything out of the ordinary to do it, but it is something that you feel kind of gets in the way, and you just wish it wasn't there. Now, turning our attention to the strap, you know my thoughts on this strap. When I first saw it on the Ocean Master, this strap blew my mind. I'm not a fan of these wave pattern straps, but I absolutely love this. It's got so much weight behind it, and you know, this flexibility there that you see, look how supple that is, very stretchy, very strong. I'm actually pulling this quite hard, and yeah, really well made. Very tool-like appearance on this strap as well. So I think it really does suit the watch. I really love the strap, great quality behind it. It is a Merkurs branded strap, so it's good to see that they've come out with something quite unique to them. The buckle on here, really large, polished buckle, Merkurs branding on there, but the watch is Seizenn. So, you know, not everybody will know that Seizenn is a smaller brand or is a part of Merkurs. So there will be a bit of a mismatch in branding, which is something that you shouldn't have. Especially if you want to be taken seriously as a brand. So, you know, you don't find Seiko watches with Orient branding on there, right? I think they should stick to the stainless steel bracelet on this. So on that note, let me do a bracelet change and see if the SKX 007 bracelet will actually fit this watch case. Okay, so time to let you know how I'm getting on. Yeah, so I've got an aftermarket Angus Jubilee style bracelet. Now this does fit on my original SKX. The issue I'm having here, I have tried it with those 2.5mm thick spring bars. It doesn't seem to like it. I think the holes on the lugs are slightly off. So what I've done, I've changed it with much thinner and weaker spring bars. Now it has managed to slot itself in. However, you do get quite a bit of movement and some gapping there. So unfortunately, I don't think it is 100% compatible with you know, aftermarket SKX 007 bracelets. But you know, I think there might be a chance, because you do have slight variations amongst them, that you might come across one that fits. So if you do want the bracelet option, it's best to buy the actual bracelet option, because of course that will be an exact fit. So let's get this Seizenn on wrist and have a look of how it feels on the wrist. Wrist check for today. I am wearing my very old school Seiko Daytona chronograph. It's been absolute ages since I put this on, about a year roughly, right, give or take a couple of months maybe. And the only time it's lost was 3 seconds over a year. So, and look how old this watch is. Super quartz movement. Anyway, let's put that one away and let's put the Seizenn on wrist. So here we have the watch on my 6.5-inch wrist. Yeah, it is comfortable. Most of that is to do with the strap. These straps really hug your wrist, and you know, they've got some awesome aesthetics. I love how they look, and it kind of does a really good job of holding that watch down to your wrist. Very comfortable. I mean, the SKX case is comfortable itself. 42mm diameter, and that 45mm lug to lug is quite compact, and it fits very neatly on the wrist. I must say though, to summarize, there's something not right about this watch. It's not sitting right with me, and that is purely subjective. I don't like the dial, the hand setup coupled with this bezel insert. Now, that's probably more me than the design. I'm not a massive fan of these style bezels at all. I really dislike them, but you know, again, that's my personal opinion on there. And I think the dial is just too plain. There's nothing really special about it, and to me the combination looks a bit off. Now going to the green one, that dial is much better. I can already tell that in the pictures. However, I think the bezel insert is still the wrong bezel insert for it. They should have gone for a standard black one, or you know, the normal type of bezel inserts that you get. The hands also, that sterile Mercedes hands, I think they should have gone for something way different. They are quite flat as well, and the lume isn't as good on the hands. The lume's absolutely fine on the dial. And you know, irrespective or regardless of the relationship I might have with Merkurs, you know, they do send quite a few watches on this channel to be reviewed. I still have to always give my honest opinion, which if you are a long-term subscriber of the channel, you know I will. I don't shy away from giving my opinion on any watch, and I think this one is a bit of a miss. Yeah, the design to me just does not look right. It doesn't sit well with me. But the best thing about this watch, the standout features for me, number one is the quality of the case. I think that is exceptional. It looks brilliant in hand, and it feels absolutely amazing. Really well done. I love that beveled edge that you have present around the side of the case. Also, another thing, that bezel rotation, spot on. I really do like that. So you know, I think this watch is great to be repurposed, so perfect for modding. like I said, you've got a very, very good base to start from, so that will accept 28.5mm dials. I can't comment on the chapter ring size. The bezel insert, I'm assuming, is the same as the SKX 007, and of course, you can go for different straps other than the stainless steel aftermarket ones. So yeah, I think it's a great base watch for a mod. Having said that, the guys that are into modding, you already know, the best SKX style cases to use anyway. There's plenty of websites that offer modding cases that are exactly the same as the SKX 007, and there's just a load on Aliexpress, so it doesn't make any sense to actually buy this just to mod it. So for me, would I purchase this watch? I don't think I would. I'd stay away from it, but it's probably the nicer cases that I have felt from the homages that I've looked at. It's just the combination isn't right, and that bezel insert, believe me, if you've got this watch, that sharpness is horrific, right? It shouldn't be there, and it just looks, to reiterate, just slightly off. That's my opinion on the watch. Other than that, I think specs only, the value for money is present. It's well built. It's just a poor choice of the visuals, in my opinion. So that's it for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed it and you find it informative. If you do want to look at the green dial version, and you do like that style of bezel, then I will leave the link in the description so you can go check it out. So that's it for me today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you on the next video.